You begin at the edge of the visible universe, where the stars grow thin and the silence grows deeper. It feels like a soft breath held in the dark, a boundary that only light has tried to cross. This chapter explores the observable universe and what defines its edge. You float on starlight, wrapped in the mystery of how far we've seen. Here, the unknown doesn't feel cold. It feels inviting. Asterisk. There is a kind of stillness that only the night sky can teach you, above your sleeping body, above cities and clouds and sound. The sky opens like an old story, one that has no final page, and somewhere far beyond the shimmer of stars, beyond the glow of ancient galaxies, lies a quiet horizon. You float there now, not with your feet or your hands, but with your attention, your wondering. Not a wall, not a cliff, not a glowing fence across the stars. It is simply the farthest place light has reached us from, 13.8 billion years ago. The universe began in silence and fire. From that beginning, light has traveled outward in every direction, patient, unwavering, unchanged. That light is still traveling, still arriving, touching your eyes when you gaze upward on a clear, dark night. But even light moves with limits. There is only so far it's had time to go down, and so we live in a bubble of light, a vast sphere, centered not around the earth, but around your perception, around any observer, really. We call it the observable universe, not because it ends there, but because that's where our vision does. You drift now near the surface of that sphere, not with rockets or machines, but with curiosity, with the gentle weightlessness of thought. You look out across the great, dark sea of space, where galaxies fade into faint whispers, their shapes softened by time and distance. It is peaceful here, not empty, never truly empty, but hushed. The light is older than mountains, older than memory. It hums softly in every direction, like the last chords of a lullaby stretched across eternity. And in this silence, you feel something unexpected. Not fear, not confusion, but welcome, because the edge of what we can see is not an end. It is a beginning, a place where questions bloom like stars, where every answer leads not to certainty, but to deeper wonder. Somewhere, just beyond this place, light has not yet reached you, but your imagination has, asterisk, and in the next breath, in the next chapter, you'll follow that breath a little farther into the space between what is known and what waits beyond knowing. Asterisk, you follow the faint light of ancient stars' light. that began its journey long before Earth knew your name. Each photon is a message, a memory from the past. This chapter gently explains how starlight carries history across space and time. It reminds you that the night sky is not just a picture, it's a time machine made of glow. You are not looking out, you are looking back. You close your eyes, not to sleep yet, but to see in a different way. In the darkness behind your eyelids, a soft glow begins to form. Not bright, not sudden, just a gentle shimmer. A memory of starlight. Because out here, near the edge of everything you've ever seen, light still tells its stories. And what stories? They are Dot, the stars you look at tonight. They are old. Not just old like ancient ruins, or old like forgotten songs. They are older than anything your hands have touched. The nearest star's light takes years to reach your eyes. The farthest ones, billions. It means that when you gaze up at the stars, you are not seeing them as they are. You are seeing them as they were. Some may no longer even exist, but their light still crosses the dark like a whispered name that never stops echoing. Each photon, each tiny particle of light is a traveler. It began its journey from the heart of a star, pushed outward by nuclear fire, escaping gravity's tight grasp, breaking free into the emptiness with nothing but momentum and silence. And it keeps going. No wind slows it. No friction stops it. It moves forward, second after second, year after year, century after century, in an unbroken line. It does not age the way you do. It does not forget its path. It remembers where it came from, even if the star that made it has burned out, collapsed, or changed its shape. When that ancient light finally reaches Earth, it slides down through the planet's atmosphere, weaving past clouds, brushing the edges of air molecules, softening just a little with the weight of distance. Then, with no announcement, it lands gently in your eye. You, here, now, catching light that left its home before there were cities, before there were oceans, before you, before me, before even language. The stars you see are not just far, they are long ago. You are looking into the past. You are seeing history written in photons, and they do not lie. Some stars are red, there. Light stretched longer by time and expansion. Some are blue, closer, younger, warmer in their glow. But all of them are speaking in a language older than speech, the language of light. Astronomers use giant mirrors and sensitive sensors to capture more of this language than the human eye can grasp alone. They look deeper, they listen longer, and what they find is a kind of cosmic diary, written not in words, but in spectra. in colors split across the sky. What it's made of, how far away it might be, all of this from a single stream of photons. It's a soft kind of science, gentle, patient. It asks for stillness, for listening, for trust in light's ability to remember. And you begin to understand that even though you are small, even though your body is quiet and resting, you are part of something vast. You are built to receive the light of ancient things. You are not just in the universe. You are a witness to it. So, as you lie here in the warmth of your blanket, wrapped in calm, you carry in your eyes the glow of a star that died before your ancestors dreamed. You cradle its journey. You finish its flight. And somehow this comforts you, not because it gives answers, but because it gives connection. You are touching time with your senses. You are walking backward across years, not with your feet, but with your vision. There is poetry in this science. Not metaphorical, but literal poetry, written in light, even the cosmic microwave background. The oldest light of all glows faintly around you. It is the leftover warmth of the very beginning, the echo of the Big Bang, still glowing, still here, still saying, you are part of this. And as you breathe slowly, your chest rising and falling like waves on a dark shore, you can feel how your body, too, responds to light. Your circadian rhythms, your dreams, your moods. Light is not just something you see, it is something you feel. It is part of the music your biology dances to, soft and slow. So tonight, let your thoughts drift outward again. Let them follow the photons backwards through star fields and voids, through centuries and seconds, until you find yourself in a space where time stretches like silk, and silence becomes song. There, the past is not lost. It's still arriving, and if the light from one star can survive billions of years just to greet your eyes, then maybe wonder gentle. Simple wonder is the most powerful thing of all. Now, listen for it. The next chapter waits just beyond. This glow, where distances become elastic and time begins to fold. Asterisk time is not as straight as it seems. It can stretch, slow, and even warp under the pull of gravity. In this chapter, you'll drift near black holes and deep wells of space, where time moves differently than it does on Earth. And you'll begin to feel the shape of time itself. Asterisk, you lie very still now. The weight of the blanket feels heavier, though nothing has changed. The silence feels deeper, though the room remains the same. This is what gravity does. It pulls not only on matter, but on time, And tonight, you begin to feel it in your day-to-day life. Time feels like a straight river. It flows in one direction, steadily, evenly. You wake, you move, you eat, you sleep. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The hands on the clock keep spinning in a circle, pretending to measure something linear, but the deeper you drift into space, the more distance you put between yourself and Earth, the more you begin to sense that time is not a straight river. It is a soft fabric, stretched and folded by weight and motion, like the surface of a still pond touched by a falling stone. Time ripples when mass is near. This is not poetry. This is Einstein. He taught us that space and time are not two separate things. They are one fabric, space-time, and it bends under the weight of gravity. The heavier something is, the more it warps the fabric around it. Not just space, but time itself. This is why clocks tick slower near massive objects. Why astronauts on the International Space Station age ever so slightly slower than you do on Earth. Why a GPS satellite must constantly adjust for the warping of time, or else your phone would lead you astray. Out here in the vast quiet, you can imagine it, not just see it. Feel it. You approach a black hole, not close enough to fall in, but close enough to sense what it does to time. It is not just a shadow in the stars. It is a wound in space-time, so massive, so dense, that even light cannot escape. But what fascinates you now is not the darkness. It's what happens to time dot near the edge. The event horizon, time slows. Down dot, not for you, if you were floating nearby. To you, time feels normal, but from the outside, an observer watching you would see your motion begin to stretch, slower, slower still, until, at the edge, it appears to stop. You become a moment, frozen, a frame in a film that never plays forward. Not because time has stopped for you, but because it has curved so sharply beneath your feet that it no longer flows the way it did. This isn't fantasy. It's measurable. Astronomers see the redshift in light as it climbs out of a gravity well. Physicists calculate the dilation of time near a black hole with terrifying precision. But you don't need math right now. You just need to breathe. To let this thought settle like mist on your skin. Time is not fixed. It can be stretched, squeezed, bent, not in your imagination, but in reality. You float gently now, past neutron stars and collapsed suns, each of them a heavy knot in the tapestry of space-time. Each of them warping not just the path of nearby objects, but the very rhythm of moments. You begin to wonder what is time, really? Is it a river, a fabric, a direction, a rhythm? Or is it something even more personal, something that lives inside your body? Because your cells know time, your heartbeat counts it. Your thoughts move with it. Even in deep sleep, your body keeps track, quietly folding experiences into memory. So maybe time is not just something out there. Maybe it's something in here, too. You close your eyes again. And this time, you picture not the stars, but the clock inside you, ticking gently, softly, keeping time not with numbers, but with dreams. And you wonder what it would feel like to live near something that bends time more dramatically, to spend an hour near a black hole's edge while years pass for someone far away. Would you feel lonely? Would you feel blessed? Or would you simply watch in quiet awe as time itself becomes a place, a terrain to be crossed? Because that's what Einstein showed us. Time has shape. It is not universal. It is personal. Two people in different places can live to different versions of now. And both are real. In your mind, you drift even farther beyond the black hole's edge into the place where even questions begin to stretch, where we cannot know what happens to time at all. Maybe it stops. Maybe it loops. Maybe it breaks. But out here, past understanding, past visibility, you are reminded again. Not everything must be known to be beautiful. Not everything must be proven to be felt. The bend in time does not make you anxious. It makes you soft, because you are no longer racing the clock. You are lying still, listening to time as if it were music, changing tempo depending on where you are and here. In this part of the song, the tempo slows. You breathe with it. You dream with it. You stretch out inside this slower space, and it holds you like a cradle. What you know now is this: time is not just something that passes. It's something that happens. It responds. It listens. It dances with gravity and leaves clues in starlight. And as you drift gently out of this chapter, you feel the echo of that dance still moving through you. Because beyond the way time bends lies a question even stranger. Can time ever reverse? And in that quiet curiosity, the next chapter begins to stir. Asterisk, we think of time, as always, moving forward. But physics has left behind strange breadcrumbs, hints that time, under the right conditions, might loop, reverse, or stand still. In this chapter, you'll drift deeper into the mystery of time's arrow and ask, what if tomorrow could lead back to yesterday? Asterisk, you stir slightly, not waking, just adjusting, as if your body senses something strange entering the quiet rhythm of thought, a question forms. It doesn't rise like a shout, but drifts up, slowly, like a leaf caught in the breeze of dreaming. What if time could move backward, not metaphorically, not in memory, but literally? What if the flow we all take for granted could somehow reverse? You lie there, still and silent. As your mind begins to float through the science, it starts small. You remember the smell of coffee in the morning, the sound of a door closing, the feeling of water slipping through your hands in the shower. Each of those moments, gone now, past. But why? What makes the past past and the future yet to be? Because here's the thing, the fundamental laws of physics, the equations that govern motion, gravity, light, atoms, about direction that run them backward, and they still work. A glass unshattering, a raindrop returning to the cloud, a person growing younger, unlearning, undash, aging. It's only at the large scale, the scale of life, of entropy, that the arrow of time begins to point in one direction. Entropy, that's the key. It's a strange, heavy word, but tonight, you let it float softly in your mind. Entropy is the tendency for things to move toward disorder, for neatness to unravel, for hot things to cool, for energy to spread out. It's why a broken cup doesn't leap back together, why footprints don't pull themselves out of the sand in a way. Time's arrow isn't written in the laws of the universe. It's written in how we remember, in how energy disperses. And yet, there are places, moments, equations that suggest reversals might not be impossible. You imagine a particle in a perfect vacuum, bouncing back and forth forever, its path symmetrical, like a metronome with no friction. In such a simple system, there is no past or future, just motion, just rhythm. And then your mind drifts deeper. What about wormholes? Theoretical tunnels through space-time, bending the fabric so sharply that one mouth might open not into another part of space, but into another time. Could someone enter a tunnel in the year 3000 and emerge in the year 2000? Physicists don't laugh at this. They frown thoughtfully. They run numbers. They write papers with titles like closed time-like curves and chronology protection, because the math permits it. Under extreme conditions, if you had negative energy, stable wormholes, didn't mind a few paradoxes, it could work. But then the mind runs into something trickier. Paradoxes, the grandfather paradox. What if you went back and stopped your grandparents from meeting? Would you still exist to go back? It's the kind of puzzle that keeps scientists humble and storytellers spinning tales. But tonight, you're not worried about paradoxes. You're not building a time machine. You're resting. And as you lie there, you begin to feel the arrow of time soften, not reverse, but lose its sharpness, because, in dreams, don't we all time travel? You find yourself in a childhood room, smelling scents long forgotten. You see people who are no longer here. You remember things you haven't thought of in years, not just memories, but moments that feel present again. Is it really so strange, then, to imagine a universe where time isn't a one-way street? Theoretical physics has something for that, to dot the block universe. In this model, the past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. Like a book already written, you, the reader, only turning pages in order, but the story, it's already there. You imagine space-time now as a giant, glowing block. With every moment, every heartbeat, every kiss, every burst of starlight, frozen in place, always existing, never truly gone. You're not moving through time, you're embedded in it, and so you drift farther, past equations and paradoxes, into feeling. You wonder if time could flow backward. Would we notice? Or would we simply remember tomorrow instead of yesterday? Would we say goodbye before hello and still feel it just as deeply? In a universe without a preferred direction, where laws run backward as easily as forward, maybe it's just memory, just entropy that gives us our sense of motion. And if memory could be reversed, would time be too? You let that question settle inside you, not looking for an answer, just letting it become part of your breath. Because sometimes wonder is better than knowing. And out here, in the gentle dark of your thoughts, where time has slowed and softened, you feel a strange comfort. Maybe it doesn't matter whether time moves forward or back. Maybe all that matters is how you carry each moment while it's yours. And with that, the chapter folds around you like a warm sheet, leaving behind one last quiet question. If time can move backward, could we meet ourselves again? Asterisk, tonight. You float beyond maps and borders into the quiet geometry of everything. What shape does the universe take as it stretches outward? Flat, curved, looping back on itself. Let your mind drift across the invisible edges of reality. Asterisk, you lie still now. Your breath slower, your thoughts quieter, like a pond just before dawn. Its surface unbroken, waiting, and then a new question gently floats into view. Not urgent, just curious, like a child tilting their head at the stars. What shape is all of this? Not the stars, not the planets, but space itself. The universe, it's a strange thing to consider. You spend your life moving through space, But you rarely think about space as something with form, as something that could be folded, curved, or even finite, but it might be. Close your eyes and imagine setting off in a straight line, sailing forever into the void. No turns, no stops, just forward. Would you reach the edge of the universe? Would you fall off into something else? Or would you loop back, returning to the place you started, like an ant circling a balloon? This is the question cosmologists ask when they speak of shape. Not the shape of stars or galaxies, but the shape of the stage they rest upon. The shape of space itself. And there are three main possibilities. First, a flat universe. A vast sheet of paper, infinite and smooth. In this shape, parallel lines never meet. You could travel forever and never return to your beginning. There are no curves, no loops, just endless, straight continuation. This flatness, surprisingly, is what our measurements suggest. Satellites like WMAP and Planck have mapped the glow left over from the Big Bang, the cosmic microwave background, and found that space, on the largest scales, seems remarkably flat. But what if it's not? The second possibility, a closed universe. This one loops back on itself, curved like the surface of a sphere. If you travel in a straight line long enough, you eventually come back to where you started, without ever turning. It feels infinite, but it's not. It's bounded, but without edges, like living on the surface of a balloon. No borders, but still a complete, closed shape. And the third, an open universe, curved the other way like a saddle. It expands forever, but the geometry bends outward. Lines that begin together drift apart. A universe like this grows colder, more lonely with time. You turn these shapes slowly in your mind: sphere, sheet, saddle. Not rigid things, but flowing, shifting possibilities. And in the silence of your thoughts, you realize something simple. The universe might be too large, too subtle, to ever truly measure in full dot. Our observations can only stretch so far, like trying to guess the shape of a mountain by staring at the fog around its base. Even if space feels flat to us, it could still be curved, just on scales so vast that we cannot see the bend. And then there's another idea, one that's even softer, more dreamlike. What if space isn't just shaped like something, but connected in a way we can't imagine? What if the universe is connected? In this idea, space loops through itself. You could travel straight in one direction and appear in another location, like in a hall of mirrors, where every step reflects into a different world. This kind of topology is hard to picture. it requires the imagination to stretch, to let go of what space should be, and instead ask what space can be. And while we don't yet know which shape is real, we do know something else, something perhaps even more beautiful. The shape of the universe changes with time, just as your body grows and shifts. So does space. When the universe was young, it was dense and hot-curved in ways we might never fully know. And now, it expands faster and faster, driven outward by something called dark energy, a force that accelerates the stretch of space itself. So the shape we see today may not be the shape it always had, or the shape it always will. You drift now, not through stars, but through invisible curves and angles, the quiet architecture beneath reality. It's humbling, isn't it? To know that everything, the galaxies, the light, even the breath in your lungs, moves across a cosmic surface whose contours we're still trying to trace. And yet, this not knowing doesn't feel cold. It feels intimate, because even as you lie there wrapped in soft blankets, your body is part of that shape, not resting on top of the universe, but within it, made of the same curves, drawn by the same hand. And so you wonder, as your breath slows even more, the universe is shaped like a loop. Could we one day return to this moment? Not as memory, but as travelers reaching the same point from the far side of the cosmos. You don't need to answer. Just let the thought drift on ahead of you, curving softly into the next question, waiting beyond the bend. Asterisk. Drift now into the space between galaxies, where light grows faint and silence deepens. What lives in the dark matter that binds the universe? What whispers from the void between the shining? You are floating in the quiet that holds it all together. Asterisk. You float now, not among the stars, but between them. Out here, the light thins, distances stretch, and silence becomes your closest companion. This is the in-between, the place where galaxies hang like lanterns in the dark. But the lanterns are few, and the dark is vast. You might think of the universe as crowded planets, stars, black holes, supernova, a dance of blazing objects. But most of it is emptiness, not empty like a room cleared of furniture, but a different kind of nothingness, a smooth, stretching quiet that resists even the idea of being empty. This intergalactic space is colder than any winter you've felt, near absolute zero, where atoms barely move, where even time feels reluctant to pass, and yet its emptiness isn't really empty. There's something here, invisible, weightless, seeming, silent yet essential. It's called dark matter. You can't see it, you can't touch it, but you can feel its pull like an unseen tide beneath the surface of a calm sea. Dark matter doesn't glow, doesn't reflect, doesn't shine. But without it, galaxies would fly apart. Stars wouldn't cling to spirals, collapse like dust without a frame. Imagine holding a snow globe, spinning it gently. The glitter inside orbits the center, but something holds it together. Something hidden beneath the glass. That's dark matter, the quiet scaffolding of the universe. We only know it's there because of what it does. Its gravity shapes the way galaxies spin, the way clusters move, the way light bends when it passes near dot. It's like discovering a song not by hearing its melody, but by watching people dance to its rhythm. You float through this dark web now, a net of mystery stretched across the stars, filaments of matter longer than light years, connecting galaxies like beads on an invisible string. And in this vast quiet, you begin to notice something else. The silence itself isn't silent, not truly. There's a background hum, not sound. Exactly, but a texture, a presence. The cosmic microwave background, leftover light from the birth of the universe. Old photons, cooled by time, still drifting through space like a memory. You're swimming in that memory now, soft and old and slow. A light so faint it's more felt than seen. You let your body relax deeper, wrapped in the soft glow of ancient beginnings. And yet, even with all this dark matter, ancient light, the space between stars, we still don't understand most of what the universe is made of. Roughly 85% of the matter is dark, unseen, only guessed at by its pull. And even stranger, a force we call dark energy makes up nearly 70% of the entire universe. Together, dark matter and dark energy form a kind of cosmic secret, a puzzle written in a language we've barely begun to decipher. Dark energy is what makes the universe expand faster over time. It stretches space like dough rising in a warm kitchen. Only the dough is made of galaxies, and the kitchen is everything. No one knows what dark energy truly is. We only know that it acts like a quiet breath pushing galaxies apart. Imagine blowing a bubble, and instead of slowing down, it grows faster and faster with every second. That's what space is doing, accelerating. And in this acceleration, in this steady unfurling of cosmic fabric, the silence deepens, galaxies drift farther and farther. Eventually, light from distant stars won't reach us. They'll slide beyond. the horizon of visibility. The night sky will dim, and the silence will become almost complete. But for now, you float through a universe still alive with motion, still filled with a soft war between gravity and expansion. You are small, yes, but you are also made of this same story. The atoms in your body, hydrogen, carbon, calcium, were once formed in stars, shaped by the laws of gravity and time. Even in the deepest quiet, you carry echoes of light dot. So, as you drift between the stars, let your breath move gently. Let your chest rise and fall like the expansion of space. Let yourself become a part of the silence, because the silence is not empty. It's full of what we don't yet understand. And you are part of the question. Soon, the stars will fade behind you, and the dark will grow more complete. But before that, you might ask one final question before sleep. If dark matter holds galaxies together, what holds everything else? And what lies in the darkness beyond even that? Asterisk, beyond the farthest star you can see, there is still more, but not more in a way you can reach, more in a way you imagine. You explore the edge of what light can touch and wonder, if the universe is infinite, where does your curiosity stop? Tonight, you float beyond the boundary of sight itself. Asterisk, you are floating now toward a horizon you cannot cross. The edge of what you can see, not because there's a wall or an end, but because light itself cannot reach you from beyond. This is the observable universe, a soft, glowing sphere of everything visible from where you are. Roughly 93 billion light-years across, shimmering with galaxies, quasars, stars, dust, and dreams. But outside that sphere lies the unknowable, because the farther you look in space, the farther you look back in time. Light takes time to travel. So when you gaze deep into the cosmos, you're not seeing what is, but what once was. A galaxy 10 billion light-years away is not where it appears. It has moved, expanded, maybe even vanished. And if something lies beyond the observable universe, its light hasn't reached us yet. It may never. So what do you do when you reach the very edge of visibility? You imagine dot, and imagination, when cradled in science, becomes something more. Mathematicians and cosmologists suggest that space doesn't stop at the edge of what we can see. Instead, it continues endlessly, or nearly so, like a tapestry, unrolling forever, just beyond the edge of your lantern's glow. You picture a dark field. You hold a single candle. Everything it lights feels real, grounded, near. But beyond that, the darkness stretches, and though you can't see it, You sense it still. Scientists believe the universe is flat, not like a table, but like geometry. It means space doesn't curve back in on itself like a sphere. Nor does it twist into strange loops. A flat universe implies endlessness. And if that's true, then beyond the 93 billion light years, there are more stars, more galaxies, more planets, possibly like Earth, and more silence. But here is where it grows beautiful and dizzying. Some theories suggest that the entire universe may be infinite. Others say it may be part of something bigger still, a bubble in a sea of other cosmic bubbles, each its own universe with different laws, different beginnings, different endings. This is called the multiverse. Multiverse. Not science fiction, but a theory born from real equations, from inflation theory and quantum mechanics. Of course, we cannot see these other universes. They may never touch ours, but the math whispers that they could exist. That the universe may be just one note in an endless cosmic chord, and you, floating here in the darkness, are part of this single, shimmering note. You breathe, and your breath feels steady. Because here, in the softness of space, the vastness no longer feels cold. It feels intimate. You begin to wonder, if the universe is infinite, what does that mean for you? That somewhere, far beyond the observable edge, there might be another. You, living a slightly different life, asleep in a different room, dreaming of the stars, but in a different sky. These are not certainties. These are questions we whisper at the edge of light. Questions wrapped in warmth, and even if we never find the edge, if the universe folds or flows or stretches, forever, there's comfort in knowing that the unknown still belongs to you, because curiosity is not bound by distance. It stretches with the stars. It moves with time. It grows larger every time you ask, what if? So, as your eyes close and your thoughts drift farther than sight allows, you are touching that mystery. You are sailing past the light. You are part of the universe's curiosity about itself. And beyond even that, beyond the edge of the observable, you might begin to sense something else stirring, not in the stars, not in matter, but in the structure of space and time itself. A question more subtle, more ancient. What if space can bend? Asterisk, you've drifted beyond stars and galaxies, and now you begin to feel it. Space itself isn't rigid. It stretches, it bends, it breathes. Tonight, you explore how gravity curves, the very shape of the universe, and how your body, small and quiet, floats through this great invisible architecture. Asterisk, close your eyes and imagine space as fabric, not a fabric you can touch, but one you can feel, soft, invisible, surrounding everything. This fabric is not passive. It bends when you place weight on it. It curves gently like silk under the press of a marble. This is the secret of gravity. We once thought gravity was a force like magnetism or electricity, but Einstein showed us something deeper. He said, mass tells space how to curve, and curved space tells objects how to move. You're not being pulled by gravity. You're sliding along the invisible curves of space-time. Picture the Earth orbiting the Sun. It's not tethered by a rope. It's falling endlessly, caught in the bend of space created by the Sun's weight. You too are falling, even as you lie still. Right now, your body rests on Earth, but gravity is guiding you downward, not as a pull, but as a slide along curved space-time. This bending isn't violent, it's gentle. So subtle you don't feel it directly, but it shapes everything: mountains, oceans, time. Yes, time bends too. Time and space are one fabric. Space-time, a single structure. And just as mass bends space, it also bends time. If you stood on a mountain, time would move just slightly faster for you than for someone at sea level. Not enough to notice, but enough to measure. Satellites in orbit adjust for this time, bending every second. So your GPS stays accurate. Even your heartbeat is synchronized by this elegant, curved design. You are part of the structure, not floating above it, not moving through it, but embedded in it. You might wonder, can space ripple? Tiny tremors in the fabric of space-time, caused by massive events, two black holes colliding, neutron stars merging. These ripples travel across the universe, unseen by eyes, but now detected by instruments as sensitive as silence. A gravitational wave passed through Earth today. You didn't feel it, but it gently stretched and squeezed all of space, including you. This is the poetry of physics. You are never still. Even as you sleep, the universe moves through you. Now breathe slowly, in and out, as if your lungs were part of that breathing. Space-time, rising and falling with its rhythm. Sometimes we think of space as empty, but it's not. It holds rules, patterns, shapes, and tensions. It bends around stars. It flows toward black holes. It carries light and bends it around corners. This is how we see gravitational lensing, the bending of light by massive objects, distant galaxies, distorted into rings and arcs by the mass of something in between, like looking through glass. Wavy and warped, Even the light you see has taken the long road, winding around invisible curves to find your eyes, and yet it always arrives, even bent, even delayed. So tonight, as you lie in stillness, you can imagine your body resting on the surface of this soft, vast geometry, the stars above you, the planet beneath, time flowing around you in a slow, deliberate current, and maybe you begin to feel something even deeper. What happens when bending becomes breaking? When gravity becomes so intense that even light cannot escape? What lies in the heart of those distortions? We call them black holes, but they are not holes. They are places where space folds in on itself, where time stops, where the very laws we know begin to dissolve. And you are drifting closer to one now, gently, safely, not to fall in, but to understand, because in the next chapter we go beyond the curve. We look into the dark where light ends and something stranger begins. Tonight you drift toward one of the universe's most mysterious places. Not a star, not a planet, but a tear in the very structure of space and time. A black hole. You will not fall in, but you'll come close enough to feel the strange quiet that surrounds it. There is no wind in space, no sound, no pressure. And yet, something feels different now. You're floating closer to it. The edges of space have begun to curve more steeply. Not gently, like before, but urgently, gravely. A black hole is near. You cannot see it directly. It emits no light. But around it, everything is bent. Stars distorted. And time is beginning to slow. Let your breathing steady now, in and out. Because time around a black hole doesn't flow the way it does on Earth. The stronger the gravity, the slower time passes. And near a black hole, time moves. So slowly that from the outside, it almost stops. If someone were watching you from afar. As you approached the edge, the event horizon, they would never see you cross it. They would see you freeze, fading, red-shifted, stretched into stillness. But from your perspective, you would fall, and fall, and fall. The silence deepens, not because it's quiet, but because your mind begins to sense that something is wrong in the geometry around you. This is the region near the black hole called the photon sphere. Here, light itself can orbit. A beam of light, a star's final cry, can become trapped in an eternal circle, never falling in, never escaping. Imagine looking to your left and seeing the back of your own head. Because the light has bent all the way around. That is the Strange magic of curved space. Your body drifts just outside this photon ring, where the pull of gravity is near its strongest. You feel weightless, but not calm. There's an ache behind your eyes, as if your brain knows that reality here is unstable. You are seeing two versions of everything, one from now and one from a few moments ago, bent back around my warped light, and ahead of you a circle of darkness. This is the event horizon, the boundary from which nothing can return, not matter, not even light. It is not a surface, not something you could touch. It is a limit. Cross it, and the future is no longer yours to decide. Inside, all paths, every possibility lead to a single, inevitable destination, the center, the singularity, a point smaller than an atom where the known laws of physics break down, where space curves infinitely, where time may not exist at all, but you're not going in, only close enough to feel its breath and hear. You see something astonishing, a ring of brilliant light. This is the accretion disk, matter dust, gas, stars being pulled in faster than anything should move. Friction and gravity heat it to millions of degrees. It glows with X-rays, invisible to your eyes. But your sensors hum with the fury of it. It's beautiful, terrifying, alive in a way that silence should never be. The energy here could outshine an entire galaxy. And yet, in the middle of all this violent light lies the still, perfect dark of the black hole, a hole only in metaphor, because, in truth, it is a trap. A place where information goes in but may never come out. Where do things go when they fall into a black hole? Do they end or begin again? Does the matter collapse into nothing? Or is there a new universe inside, birthed by gravity, growing behind the curtain? No one knows. And that mystery, that silence, is what draws you closer. Because a black hole is not just the end of matter. It may be the beginning of something else. A gateway, a boundary, a question mark in the shape of space. Now breathe again. Steady, because you're about to turn away. You've come close, close enough to see time drip like honey, close enough to feel the curve of space, close enough to know that some silences are not empty, they are dense. And as you drift backward, the gravity lessens, time speeds up. Shapes return to their proper curves, but you are changed. You've looked into the eye of a paradox. You've heard the voice of silence and felt its weight. And now we go further still, beyond gravity, beyond black holes, toward something even stranger, a place where the universe itself might have a boundary, or a beginning, or an end. In the next chapter, we drift toward the limits of space itself, where galaxies thin and the cosmic background whispers of how everything once began. Tonight, you drift farther than ever before to the farthest reaches of space, not just in distance, but in time, toward a veil that marks the boundary of everything we've ever known. There, in the silence, we listen to the soft, ancient whisper of the universe's birth. Asterisk, there is no edge in space, not a wall, not a fence, not even a line, but there is a place where time runs out, not the end of time, but the beginning of it, and you are floating toward that place now, not forward, but backward, farther than galaxies, farther than stars, farther than the dust that made planets, back through the memory of the cosmos itself. Ahead of you, the light grows faint, galaxies become sparse, like campfires in the fog, spaced too far apart to warm one another. The stars begin to thin, their colors fade, their warmth cools, and beyond them a kind of hush. This is not the darkness of night. It is deeper. It is the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the Big Bang, a signal so old, so quiet it whispers in microwaves, invisible to human eyes, but ever present in every direction. Pause for a moment and imagine this. You're surrounded by a dim, endless fog that has been cooling for over 13.8 billion years, a faint echo still ringing through space, from a time when the universe was only a child. That soft hum, it is the earliest light to ever travel freely, and it tells a story of heat, of chaos, of a newborn universe expanding so fast that time itself stretched. You are drifting at the edge of that memory. Behind you, galaxies, stars, planets, all of them formed long after this light began its journey. Ahead of you, there is only before. But no light from that before can reach us, because before this soft radiation, the universe was opaque, a glowing plasma, too hot for light to escape. For the first few 100,000 years, it was like looking into the center of a star, blinding, boiling, boundless. But then it cooled, atoms formed, and light was set free. That's what you see now, not with your eyes, but with your mind. A wall of warm fog, stretching in every direction. Not the edge of space, but the edge of visibility. You cannot drift beyond it, because beyond it, the universe was still becoming. And yet, you wonder, is there something on the other side? A time before time. Some believe there may have been another universe, one that collapsed so this one could be born. Others say this is the only one. That time itself began in a burst of creation so immense. It left behind this cooling echo as its final note. You float there, listening. There is no sound in the void, but still, it feels like a lullaby, soft, distant, endless. A lullaby from the beginning of everything, and here, you realize something. Every atom in your body, the iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the carbon in your skin, was once part of this fire, forged in the stars that came after, shaped by galaxies, whispered into form by the ancient breath of the cosmos. You are not just floating through space. You are space, made of it, held by it, returned to it, and so you close your eyes, not because you are tired, but because the view is too vast, too beautiful, too quiet. You've reached the oldest light, to furthest past, and found peace there in the next chapter. We will drift inward once again, toward the smallest scales imaginable. Because if the universe has no edge, perhaps the boundary lies not outward, but within. Asterisk, tonight, instead of drifting outward, we drift inward. Past cells, molecules, and atoms into a realm where the rules of reality bend, where particles vanish and reappear, where uncertainty is law, and time behaves like a whispered suggestion. This is the quantum world, the most mysterious and dreamlike landscape of all. Asterisk, float with me now. Not into space, but into the space. Within, shrink gently, quietly, with no rush, smaller than a human body, smaller than a single cell. You pass mitochondria, nuclei, ribosomes humming like tiny factories. Keep going, smaller than molecules, past the spirals of DNA, through the lattice of atoms that make up every breath you've ever taken. And then the atoms themselves fade to no longer solid or fixed. They become clouds, shimmering probabilities. You are now entering the quantum realm. Here, nothing behaves quite the way it should. A particle can be in many places until you look, and then it's in just one time can move forward or backward or pause entirely depending on how you observe it. This is not fantasy. This is physics. Quantum mechanics, the rules that govern the tiniest pieces of reality. Electrons drift in orbitals, not like planets circling a sun, but like fog around a lantern. Not a path, but a possibility. You float through these clouds. Weightless. In this world, energy comes in little packages, quanta, tiny, indivisible units of light, sound, and matter. Here, particles pop in and out of existence. Virtual particles blink into being, then vanish again before the universe can catch its breath. Even emptiness is not empty. It seethes with restless activity. A vacuum is full of potential. You drift deeper where things become stranger still. You pass through a double slit, a thin wall with two openings, and notice something remarkable. A single particle of light goes through both slits at once until you observe it. Then it chooses dot as if it knows you are watching. This is the mystery. Observation itself alters reality, and so you stay quiet, watching without interfering. You begin to notice patterns, mathematical, elegant, almost musical. Quarks dance in threes bound by gluons. The strong nuclear force holding them close. Photons glide freely, carrying light through vacuum at the fastest speed allowed. Neutrinos pass silently, billions streaming through your body each second without a trace. You are surrounded by invisible motion, invisible rules. And yet, this chaos creates everything you know, from the warmth of sunlight to the solidity of stone to the thought behind your dreams. It all starts here, in the trembling balance between chance and order. This place does not feel frightening. It feels ancient, like something the universe has always known, but we are just now learning to see. You pass a Higgs field, a sea of energy so subtle, and yet it gives mass to everything that moves through it. Without it, nothing would weigh anything. Nothing would hold together. Even gravity begins to whisper here. Faint, difficult to detect, but still present. Still guiding as you float deeper. You wonder, is this where reality begins? Not out in the stars, but in the flicker of quantum sparks. Is the universe built from randomness? Or is there a hidden pattern too complex to see? Scientists have asked this for decades, and the answer always seems to dance just out of reach. But tonight, you are not here to solve the mystery, only to observe, to marvel, to drift through wonder. You are a traveler in a place where thought itself becomes probability, where particles behave like waves, and waves behave like whispers, and slowly you begin to return, expanding again. Growing larger molecules reform, atoms settle, cells come back into view. You pass through your own body, now not just a vessel, but a constellation of countless spinning, uncertain things. You open your eyes, but a part of you still feels the tremble of that subatomic world, where reality dances in twilight, and the edges of truth blur like fog on glass. You rest now, held between the vastness of the cosmos and the mystery beneath all things, because even in stillness, you are moving. Even in sleep, you are becoming. Asterisk, tonight, you return not to the stars or atoms, but to Earth itself, to its ancient rivers, buried forests, and sleeping stones. You drift through eons, past fossils, magma, and silent glaciers. This is the story of deep time, where Earth dreams slowly and all things leave traces. Even you, asterisk, drift back down now, past the orbits, past the clouds, back to the only home you've ever known, back to Earth, but don't land in the present. Let time peel away like soft bark. Fall backward, not just through years, but through epochs. Let the modern world dissolve. The glow of cities dims. The hum of machines fades. The footprints disappear. Now you're standing on stone, ancient, untouched, still warm from the sun of a forgotten sky. This is the realm of deep. Time. Earth is not young. She is 4.5 billion years old. She has seen oceans rise and fall, mountains born and buried, forests turn to coal, creatures bloom, walk, vanish, and she remembers it all. You begin your journey not above, but below. Drift downward through the crust, past layers of sediment and shale. Each layer holds a memory. Here, a fern pressed into stone, from when dragonflies as wide as hawks danced through swampy air. Lower still, fossils of trilobites gleam in ancient seabeds, now buried under desert, lower, volcanic. Rock still warm from eruptions long gone. Here, you see the glowing magma flowing through the deep heart of Earth, not violent, but slow, like a sleeping giant's breath. Above you now, the continents drift, inch by inch. Patient, endless, you rise again, up through a glacier, thousands of years frozen in silence. Each snowflake compacted into ice, into memory. You see mammoths walk. You see stars reflected in untouched water. No cities, no roads, only Earth, unobserved, dreaming. You pass trees that lived for 5,000 years, rivers that carved canyons over eons, caves forming crystal cathedrals, one drop at a time. Everything in this world moves slowly, and yet it moves. You realize Earth does not forget. She holds each moment, tucked away in rings of trees, in layers of ice, in the folding of stone. And you are part of that memory. Every step you've taken, every word you've spoken, every thought. You've had leaves a small trace in the turning of time. You are not separate from this world. You are not an observer. You are a participant in the oldest story ever told. You rise to the present again. The modern world returns. But you carry something with you, a stillness, a deeper knowing, a connection to stone, to roots, to the slow breath of earth. The cosmos is vast, the quantum world is strange, but your story ends here, on this fragile, resilient planet, suspended in space, warmed by a gentle star. The earth spins beneath you, night flowing across its surface like ink across parchment, and you close your eyes, held not just by gravity, but by memory, by time, and as sleep takes you, you drift again, not into space, not into dreams, but into the long, slow turning of a world that remembers everything. Sleep well, traveler. The stars will wait